I came to docs or film through the desire to tell a personal story, and that was one of growing up in an environment with a lot of oil refineries and watching the pollution and the effects on human health of those oil refineries. So that for me was a very personal story. It was a message or a narrative that wasn't getting into the world, and it was something that I had dedicated almost a decade of my life prior to making a film to understanding, learning, researching, studying, and realized that the only way the information would ever get out to the public was through not newspapers, because there'd been articles about it, not TV shows, because there'd been a couple of exposés on it, but really through film. That would change a dialogue around this very specific issue. So I literally learned about film to tell one specific story. The process of making what you know into a movie hones your thoughts and creates an exactness, or it should. You know, there's two different sides of filmmaking. There's the technical side, lights, camera, sound, getting it all right, and that can be so incredibly consuming in the field. Sometimes when I'm just working with a DP or a DP and my co-director, who's my wife, who's also the producer, just the technical, just getting the shot, getting the sound, getting the elements to be vaguely cinematic is so stressful that I have to know the story backwards and forwards. I have to be thinking at any given time about whether or not the right lenses on the camera and the lights and the sound and who's coming in the room and can we get them out of the room and all of those elements. So the technical is good to know. It's your tool set in the field. But without the research, if you haven't mapped out your story, if you haven't researched every single little aspect of your story, it doesn't matter how good technically you are. There's plenty of great technical filmmakers that can't make movies because they're not intrinsically connected to their story. And you have to really understand your story. Where are you going? What's the country? What's the region? What's the climate? Is it going to rain on you? Is rain part of the culture? How is it part of the culture? Do they celebrate it? Does it mean something? Is there a word for it? What do they eat? Do they eat bugs? Do they care about that? Is that a religious symbol to them? What happened? Did the rainforest get taken away from the people, or the people got taken away from the rainforest, or are they in the desert? All of these things, and the history of the country, and how many years has that been, and who was involved. And you may be doing an interview with somebody and remember a non sequitur from a book that you read about the history of that place and say, oh, you mean like when Colonel so-and-so came in and took over the Mahawaji people? And then they open up and they're, oh my God, you know of my history. And suddenly there's a connection between the character and you. So it's the strength of your story is precipitated on your research. Then once you're in the field, if your research is good, then you have to follow your instincts and your gut will take you along a certain path, and sometimes that path is radically deviant from what you thought your story was. And then once your gut and your research have landed you in front of your key character, then it's really up to your technical filmmaking skills. So there's really three different areas that you've got to nurture as a filmmaker. But I can't stress enough, your research and your pre-planning. That literally will determine often whether you make a great film or not.